Welcome to Letters to Mahakala, podcast number 2. This podcast is entitled Vipassana. Your neurons know because they are more linked directly to the process, are part of it. The mind in its conditioned state, that is to say, when limited to words and ego games, is continuously in thought formation activity. From the Bardo. I crashed a Vipassana meditation seminar without paying. Was I guilty? Well, there's no me, so no. Besides, nobody asked for money anyway, which I took to be the highest sign of enlightenment. Jenna Willis was the teacher, and she happened to live out on a patch of soil by the Devil's Den recreation area, an area dominated by Lee Creek scenic foothills. Easing down that gradient to her lot of houses was no mean trick. Rains have washed some of the gravel off the road, leaving a rut or two to bounce through. Rolling my window down to watch how far out my car sank into the hose, I got a whiff of mint somewhere on the sidelines. Nothing says wonderful like a burst of fresh mint. I bumped on down to the bottom of that quarter mile, found a cramped parking lot composed of fungus-eaten logs, and then the back and forth into a wedge guarded by a birch tree in the next car over. For a secretive little plot of land, there were many cars, most of them parked at the end of the drive by the main house. Other houses artfully brought to life by plaster sculptures, seashells, colorful murals caused me to slow down and take a look. My attention drifted. A gaggle of voices brought me back around, of course. Down at the main house, a trio of women were shelling their shoes, going barefoot. When's the last time I ever did that? Definitely been a long, long while. I approached the house, with memories of Sifu and Zen Master Jack crowding my head. Was this going to be a day to live in the past or find some new training? I asked myself. True, I could live with the memories of a golden past, and of course, relive them until I was blue in the face. The fact was, this is probably not going to happen according to script. Scary thought that. I plunked my shoes into a bin on a shelf that was probably not used for shoes. I had no idea what its purpose might be, but I was on a plot of ground where commercial purpose and art lived together in a testy balance. I noted that an old rusty-looking propane cylinder, a rather large one at that, hanging around with jangling pieces of metal and strings. Homemade percussion zone, do-it-yourself bells. The guesses went wild, flying far from the true mark, I'm sure. Walking into the main house, I realized it was built along the designs of a yurt, quite charming, which I found completely compelling too. Entering, you had access to the kitchen where I met Jenna. And then straight through, you had the main sitting room where the magic happened. Outside, down a slope down there, drifted a rather dramatic pond in its lush growth. Who are you? Jenna asked, extending a hand. I smiled, shook it, told her my name. Jenna was a page from a history textbook, a page straight out of the late 60s at that. Barefoot, freckled nose, wild graying hair, unabashed smile. This is the female version of Zen Master Jack Moore. Straight through is the sitting room, see, and out on the patio, you have a view of the pond and the trail. Make yourself at home. We'll be starting today's workshop in about 15 minutes. I smiled to show that I wasn't a complete idiot and sat down at a slightly unstable picnic table facing the facing the pond. I wasn't alone. Behind me giggled a couple who were talking about visiting hell or something like it on some shamanic journey. I got a look at them. The guy was a bit introverted, mustached, weasel-faced. In comparison, the girl had the bearing of a trust fund child, spoiled, but well-meaning. I did so much that I thought I was in spirit form the next day, she touted. Jenna delivered more people to us, noticed that the shamans talking too much, immediately admonished them in a gentle manner. It's time to grow quiet and sink into the atmosphere of the workshop. Someone else may be trying to do the same, but they may be stopped by the chatter. I sincerely hoped she was talking about me. I was giving off that enlightenment signal by staring at the pond, willing my eyes to behold every last atom it hid. Well, the younglings were quiet for about 60 seconds and then rattled on about an upcoming concert they had no tickets for. Perhaps a invisible Zen ticket, perhaps. That's just what the doctor ordered, I imagined. The time was called. I followed their yapping asses in, but made a careful effort to be seated far across from them. I let Jenna whoop on them if she had to. I found a place to park my ass and began musing about some of Jackson's teachings about the projector, the movie, the witness, and all that. You see, the point was Buddha mind didn't care what played on the screen or it didn't play on the screen. There never was a thing to care about, worry about, or plan to intercept at all. But was Buddha mind buried under the shit of the thinking mind? Answer, it takes a thinking mind to think of that question. In about 3 days, I'll post the second part of this story. Thank you for listening.